it isn't. You have failed pathetically to demonstrate any of the physical principles or any of the physical mechanisms that
you got dunked on from the beginning of tonight, bro.
Misunderstanding of much of relativity. You just assert you won, PhDTony lost. No, you have not adduced a single piece of evidence. You claim that I said that Markian forces were impossible. I never said that. What I said was they can only occur if you are inside the Schwarzschild radius of the
you can't stay on topic, bro. You always just scattergun random points.
This is on topic. This is on topic. You made a false claim about what I had said. You said
we weren't talking about that.
And okay, then do you concede that I mentioned the Schwarzschild radius? Do you concede that I did not say that Markian forces are impossible?
I never said you said that. What I said that you
Yes,
said was that wouldn't. You said what force would work, or what force is doing it, because that wouldn't work because of the sun. That's how vague your statement was.
So your argument.
So Austin's right again.
Your argument is that there is a.
Is this guy like a comedian PhD or something?
You're like a masochist at this point.
Yeah, we're not here to pick on people. Come on, kids, behave.
Oh, but he can pick on me the whole time.
Oh, you're picking on him too. I did hear both of you.
Yeah, because eventually I'm able to just defend myself, right? I mean, I've tried 1,000 times to be completely good faith with him. It's very obvious.
No, you fucking haven't, and don't lie to everybody's face. You
actually deep down, you actually enjoy talking to me because you know I do act in good faith, and you are just not going to ever say it.
The beginning of this conversation was all about whether or not it is valid to extrapolate the current laws of physics back to the initial phases of the universe. And you said that is completely valid. And any suggestion to the contrary is just making shit up and appealing to possibilities. Now you're saying that it's possible that there is this magical magnetic force, that is magically counter-rotating, that is somehow linked to the motion of the rest of the universe, even though the universe actually rotates on a sidereal day, not a diurnal day. So the entire hypothesis that the diurnal rotation can be explained in Markian principles was wrong, because in that case the year would be 364 days long.
I said sidereal. I said sidereal though.
Yes, except that the paper is about diurnal. It's about the effect on the sun. So you're trying to explain the 24-hour rotation of the sun in terms of the 23-hour, 56-hour rotation.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I wasn't even invoking his causal mechanism. I explained that 3 times. I was simply showing that within your own paradigm, the dynamic equivalence of Newtonian mechanics.
Can you stop interrupting, please, Tony?
Dude. I mean, it's like, and by the way, I'm not interested in you just like I'm not interested in your like revisionist history of our whole entire conversation that's been going on for hours, bro. Like, let's just wrap this up, man. Okay, address my meta point here. You see, I honestly think you don't even see it. But part of me thinks you absolutely do. Man, my alarm went off. So what you're saying, bro, is that if I can't explain everything, then my model's wrong, right? And then I said, okay, so we can apply that same. I said we can apply that same standard to yours, right? And then no. And we're working on it. We're working our best to do what we can. We're figuring out over time. So it's a double standard, right? So that's what I'm doing. And then you just had to desperately, basically claim I provided no evidence. That isn't true. prove it all. I provided all kinds of evidence, right? And I can do more. There's tons of evidence that the Earth is not moving, like Aries failure, Michelson-Gull-Pearson, the subsequent replications of Michelson-Morley that then correlated to altitude with anisotropic propagation. We could jump all the way outside of that, and we could then look at the fact that I can unify all scales with an etheric model where you have to break them up in quantum, local, and cosmological, and then none of your models work on any of those scales. And then when we look at your cosmological scale based on your presupposed vast distances in a vacuum, the energy is off by 10 to the 120th power, but I invoke a more dense medium with a more local universe, and then I can actually explain all of it. How I'm not limited to proportionate mass, which is where all of your erroneous calculations come from, because it's magnetic in nature when it comes to the circular rotation of galaxies. So then I don't actually have the discrepancies that you have. And now you've skipped over dark matter and dark energy comprising 96% of your universe for over a century almost. Yet somehow that's permissible. Yeah, I don't even have that discrepancy. And mine is somehow less valid than yours. So actually mine is significantly more viable than yours in every single way. And I can unify all scales. And we have a background medium that explains all of these perplexing, confounding paradoxes in quantum mechanics. We beat you every way possible. It's a blowout. It's like 100-0 on the scoreboard. So check the scoreboard, bro.
Okay, in order to do that, all you had to do was discard the atomic theory of matter, the germ theory of disease, the way microcircuitry works, the way GPS works. You had to throw out all of the confirmations of general relativity as though they didn't exist, the observations of gravitational time dilation, the observations of velocity-based time dilation and mass increase in mass spectrometers. You had to throw out all of that observational evidence and not replace it with anything that I've heard. You've had to ignore the fact that neutrons fall under the influence of gravity. You had to invoke this magical magnetic field that we can't observe and say that that's okay, and that it counter rotates in both hemispheres for some ungodly reason, as does the universe. But that apparent counter rotation of the sky has no effect on the motion of particles, because the guy you're appealing to had the entire universe rotating in the same direction. So now you've got half the universe rotating in one direction, half of it rotating in the other direction. I'd argue that you're more likely to have zero effect than any effect whatsoever. It's an incoherent mess, and you have yet to produce any novel prediction that you are able to make. You have yet to produce any quantitative validation that you are able to make. All you're saying is our observations are the same as yours. Our forces will be the same magnitude as the ones that you require. We're just making up this magical magnetism that has no observational support behind it in order to pretend that we're just as good as the mainstream scientists. No, until you can actually do some calculations and actually show that your calculations are very close to predictions, you've got nothing. You've achieved nothing. You have done nothing of any utility to anyone. The people who developed GPS, they have introduced a technology that is the foundation of modern transport and communication. You have done
that's enough.
all.
Yeah, I think you should just wrap it up with.
I think so too. Yeah. Hey, real fast
replying to this.
Beast, do you remember the guy that actually fixed GPS? What is his name? Do you remember by chance?
Paul Marmot, I think.
No, there's no
Ron Hatch.
Ron Hatch.
Yeah, Ron Hatch. Ron Hatch. So actually the guy that was brought in to fix GPS specifically said he had to disregard relativity to do it. And it's because there was a C plus V relationship with however fast the device was moving. And so he literally explains he had to throw it away. He wrote a whole book about it. So that's not true at all. That's not true. That's a fact.
So apparently Terry's saying we should move on. Yeah,
I'm just saying. Yeah, I think we should wrap it up with it. Don't recite.
Okay,
just give us your opinion. Just give us your opinion of the conversation.
But to deal with that,
Look, he even interrupts you, man.
Wow.
As I explained previously, do not have anything to do with
Let's turn again somehow.
Okay,
let's wrap it up. Like, here's how I feel about the whole thing. I explained it, man. Like, I listened to every single thing you said right then. Literally, no exaggeration. Every single thing you just said was a straw man. Every single thing. So, I mean, I guess we can apply, to don't assume malice. You know what I mean? But anyway, so it's all good, bro. I no longer belong to the cult of mainstream scientism. I encourage people to think for themselves. And when you actually aren't devoted to these belief systems, you'll find out that there are much more coherent explanations that can just accept the evidence for what it says, accept the truth, and that they have a philosophical bias against the implications, that it means that this place is special, that there is a metaphysical component to existence, and that there's a supernatural creator of some kind. And it's a super weirdo thing to do, in my opinion, not talking about Tony, but just in general, to deny the evidence or the most coherent explanations because it may mean we're special, right? So basically, it's the philosophy of anything but God. Okay, I reject that. I think it's ignorant, and I think it's just a futile pursuit destined to oblivion, and I have decided not to partake in the cult of scientism. So
I don't think most scientists think they're not special.
End the show.
You're quite free to, but you enjoy the benefits of other people's work that actually produces stuff of utility, while you and your flat Earth friends do absolutely fuck all of any use to anyone.
Well, that's not true.
Sounds good, man.
Really? What have you done that's useful?
Well, what are you doing here? What? He's giving you something to discuss, isn't he? At the very least.
Yeah. So has every idiot, right? Being an idiot isn't that useful. Like,
if you think people are just idiots and that's the end of it, as far as you're concerned, why are you talking to him?
Because he's somebody that people listen to, and if I can expose the fatuousness of his positions and why he's factually incorrect, then people will listen to him less.
You didn't.
That was a swing and a miss.
Quite frankly,
swing and a miss, bro.
Frankly, a lot of what he says is actually dangerous and homicidal.
Can I just say something to you? Can I just say you're
going to get
clearly you're a learned person. Can I just say something? No matter how much you just talk to him, you're never going to stop other people listening to him. That's not going to happen.
No, I know that. I know that true. I know that too. That's not what I'm trying to do. There are people who are between camps. There are people.
Okay.
You pushed them away tonight, brother.
And those are the people who, you can say that all you want. Actually, our debate on modern day debates, I was approached by somebody who had a friend who was on the fence going into that debate and abandoned flat earthers completely stupid coming out of it. So
I had like over 50 people tell me you got destroyed.
I get other feedback on from other people.
Can I give you some feedback, Tony?
Sure.
Yeah, you lost all credibility.
It would be better if you wanted to actually talk about your ideas and your positions and arguments. If you didn't yell and constantly interrupt. I'm not saying no one else did that, but just saying you should have a little bit more forbearance in future conversations, and then you would probably win more people to your side.
I should, yes.
Just giving you some advice, man.
I have a temper problem, and it's not much helped by my current circumstances. But
maybe it's possibly related to your circumstances, bro. Have you ever thought about that?
No. The fact that I have a temper problem goes back to my upbringing. All of me and my brothers and I all have all of my brothers and I and my sister all have tempers, and I think it was sort of the influence of our father. He said
it might be the brain worms.
Well, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry for that, bro.
That would be a science denier who has brainworms. But thank you.
You're a big fan of RFK, bro. We get it.
Don't worry about your temper. It can be funneled into passion.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be just try and listen more in good faith, because I feel like you're not even listening to me half the time, but it's each their own.
Your problem is, so it would be much easier to listen in good faith if every time you started a sentence, you didn't start with a summary of why you just a mischaracterization of what I said, a mischaracterization of my motivations, a mischaracterization of the history of science, and then present and you stuck to presenting stuff for which there is evidentiary support. Is there evidentiary support for your stuff? That's all I care about. And if you want to make a point with me, I don't care about it's possible, blah, 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 blah.
Until it comes to, it could be possible that there's a place with no space or time or matter or energy that defy our current understanding of the laws of logic and natural law that could have existed before time existed, and it was a version of imaginary time where the second law would have been.
That it violated the laws of logic, Witsit? We've had this discussion before. When did I say no? You just lied.
He was going to say it. He was going to say it. Violated the second law of what? Thermodynamics.
That's what he said earlier. He claimed all.
Tell me what the second law. Here we go again.
Stop. My point was.
I'd like to address the second law.
I don't want to debate you about the second law, dude. I don't want to debate you about the second law.
No, it's not a debate.
Let me finish what I was saying to him. My point.
I just know what you meant by that.
Yeah, and please stop. Okay, maybe just a second. My only point was just like, dude, it's kind of hypocritical for I don't want to hear what's possible when our initial conversation that lasted for like 2-3 hours. Your whole entire argument was it's possible.
No, my entire point was that you don't know. My entire point was that you are trying to extrapolate from an extremely limited data set in space and time across a much larger time. And that is something that requires great conservatism, right?
No, you were telling me that it was possible.
So you're extrapolating. So you are what I need from you is evidence in favor of this magnetic field that you claim. I want to know what generates it.
I watch my streams, man.
I want to be able to test it, and I want to be able to test its prediction.
Tony,
sounds good.
Tony, since you've been listening to him for since you've been listening to him for over 3 hours, I can imagine what this conversation has been like, because we've been having it for years and years and years. Don't do that. It's a real honest,
I said it was way longer than that.
Hold on, dude. You've been going on, and you don't ever give breaks. The reason that Tony seems to perceptively been interrupting you, as I've been hearing it, and I've been muted for a second too, because
that's a lie. He interrupted.
I know
you're going to
start.
Hours.
You're going to start. Hold on. You're going to start, dude. You're doing it right now. You're just doing it. Stop. You're
lying.
This is your blind spot. This is really your blind.
Wait. So he was just talking.
Thank you for muting him. It was totally irrelevant.
Who did that?
I guess what I did it.
Who's me?
I'm muting because the conversation could have been civil.
Thank you. That was really rude to mute me. I didn't do anything wrong. So
let
me talk for a second. I'm not going to be very long. I promise.
Don't let him.
So let me.
I don't care. All you brovers have no integrity at all. Any person with any honesty would admit that Tony objectively just bullied me that entire conversation, and you guys have the bullshit audacity to pretend that I did it to him and that it was justified. And everyone knows he's engaged with 8 people tonight. He's done it to every single one of them.
Well, honestly, there was interruptions on both sides.
Because it gets to where the only way to survive in the conversation is to interrupt him back.
So, yeah, Witsit, this is the thing. I interrupt when somebody is laying out a falsehood. As you well know,
that
from your study of logic, if somebody starts
I did say we're trying to get onto a new topic.
If somebody starts from a false premise, they cannot reach a valid...
The other person speak, and then you respond. Like, whatever, I'll debate you now. And this is the point, right? Going forward, I don't feel like I have to be talked to like that. So I'm just telling you, the rules of this room is that we let each other speak. If sometimes people get carried away, like I do this sometimes, I talk too long, then just, that could be a correction that people need to try to keep it more concise, okay? But you don't just bully the other person by yelling at them and talking over them. It doesn't matter if you think they're wrong. It doesn't matter of any other reasons you want to come up with, because it's audio chaos and no one can actually have a conversation that way. Just the rules. It's non-negotiable.
So if you think that I'm wrong, if you think that something that I've said is factually incorrect, then we need to be talking about that. That's what needs to be resolved. And the evidence that I have supporting that and the evidence you have contradicting that needs to be presented. Because if we do this multiple point thing and let people get away from the central thing they said that was false, we're not progressing this. And I don't care. So this is the thing that you seem not to understand, even though it was made by somebody else during the discussion. Scientists aren't interested in what looks good. And I'm not interested in what seems fashionable or what seems polite. What I want is accuracy. I want things to be as accurate as I can. Wrong because I yell, that I'm wrong because I've got a bad temper. I don't believe that to be true.
I never said that.
No, I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying that you did.
Why are you saying it?
Because
Pointless interruptions.
okay, am I going to get to answer the question that I was asked? Because it sounded like
the question.
No one asked you a
The rules of the room is we don't do that.
Somebody said, why did you bring it up? I was asked a question. Why did you bring it up? Is that not a question, or was that not said?
Okay, I'm actually not going to respond, man. Maybe if we wait for 5 minutes, then we can move on after he gets done.
Okay, so the reason I brought it up is that I think that paying it. I said.
Nature where we live and that there's a creator. That was my actual motivation. I don't really understand how that's narcissistic because the truth is it was detrimental to myself. You, on the other hand, wanted to make sure you let me know that you're superior to me due to the 3 letters beside your name and then repeatedly remind us of how beneath we are. And please don't respond. Can we just move on to anything else in the world?
If you want to move on,
I
you'll let me have the
disagree.
final word, won't you? If you're that desperate to move on, you can let me have the final word and you can eat it. I am not better than people, and that's not what
I. And there's not a slight variation, by the way.
Just like if I'm standing still and the rain is coming straight down, there's a difference in angle. If I start running, it appears to come in at an angle. So if we were moving, it'd be like we were jogging in the rain, and therefore the starlight to the telescope with the attached to the Earth that's moving would have caused a deflection. Okay, that's just a fact.
Okay,
it's not debatable.
That is a kind of a little bit of a straw man or a little bit of a non sequitur, truthfully. I'm talking about if you sat there on the ground on a paved highway and just a car shot by at 200 miles an hour and you measured it with a laser. A laser rangefinder it's a relative of this particular technology. So a laser.
You think I don't know what you're talking about?
I do. I know you do, and that's why I'm going to make it clear because I don't want to talk about Aries failure. We can talk about that later, some other time. I know you guys are beat to death on this whole topic. Would you tell me what you would find if I then chased after you at 200 miles an hour? You increase your speed to 200 miles an hour faster than me. So now you're going 400, I'm going 200. Would we still measure a 200 mile an hour difference if you're still going 200 miles an hour faster than me versus when I was stationary and you drove by me at 200 miles an hour? Would there be any difference in the measurement?
No.
So then there is not a medium that affects light.
Okay, that's a cool story. It's just that it would only slightly affect it in such a small scale, just like it only slightly affected it all the way from the sky. That's why I brought up Aries failure. Dude, the thing is, I'll be honest with you. This is my honest opinion. My honest opinion right now. My honest opinion is I fully knew where you were going and thought about the implications and how it applies to both of our worldviews and where you're trying to go with it, and then invoked Aries failure because I knew that it fully explained my point. You haven't caught up with it yet, and you're saying it's irrelevant, but it's not, because I knew you would think that if you could say something like that, which is that there's not a huge difference detect in a situation like that on the Earth, and there can't be a medium. But I knew that no, that's not truth. It just has a tenuity beyond comprehension, according to Tesla. So therefore, we would expect basically not even a registerable effect, not even really much of a detectable effect, almost negligible in something small scale, such as a car moving past us, because that's a tenuity beyond conception, meaning a thinness beyond conception. So we know that, okay, so then we wouldn't really expect much. But if something was super,
why wouldn't you expect why would he expect anything or everything?
But if something was super, super far away, and there was an additional medium, not just air, but an additional medium, but it's really, really tenuous, but we would still detect a slight change if that, whatever it was super far away. Okay? So that's why I invoked something like a star, right? And the stars are moving, but just in relation to the Earth, right? And then like a really quick observation, it's not a lot of movement in relation. So guess what? We didn't see much deflection in Aries failure, and it went the wrong way. So
Again, kind of a
it sucks for you. Sucks for your belief. Sucks for your belief.
If you think that light requires this medium to propagate through, and I contest that it does not. And
not what I think.
This medium is utilized for the light to get from one point to another, i.e., me to you, if you're some distance
what I
away, and it reflects back, and it uses the medium, this whatever this medium is, this ether.
That's not what I think.
Why would not moving through it dramatically alter it? I mean, why would it not? Why don't you steal, man?
That's not what I think,
giving you.
Though.
So it doesn't. So it wouldn't be directly proportional to the velocity then. Like, i.e., meaning if I went 200 miles an hour and you're going 400 miles an hour, I should measure twice that speed.
Well, I would say it depends on the accuracy instrument. If this alleged ether is rotating once per day or once per year, would your radar gun be able to detect that kind of stuff?
Well, if that's the case, we have even bigger problems, because that means it's a preferential ether. Whenever you do something, it knows, it's all knowing, and it'll travel in that direction. But we have a direction of the ether, hold on, which they've already implied through this toroidal field nonsense. I'm sorry for insulting that comment, but it doesn't make any sense.
That's okay. Just go back to believing your like.
I could be swayed to understand a little better as I look into your ideas, or maybe Dr. Fester or Ken Wheeler's ideas. But if these concepts are true, there is a direction in certain areas of the globe. So why isn't, if we're going east to west over the United States, where we have this direction that can be measured, this velocity we can measure, the direction of velocity of rotation, tangential velocity anyway. Why wouldn't going the other direction completely be canceled out by this ether?
Okay, because it's only a very slight deviation, bro, right? And actually, there did have to be a correction for the velocity of the movement of satellites, according to your own belief of satellites and the satellite documentation. They had to actually account for the velocity of the satellite, and it was also anisotropic. Actually had a directional effect, and we have all the documents. We provided them.
Time dilation.
Yes. Go to the link that was provided earlier.
Yes or no?
And then
because of time dilation?
No, not because.
Not because of time dilation. Okay.
Why would time dilation amount to C plus V?
It amounts to having to adjust the time that the satellite is actually using versus.
So it wouldn't be C plus V.
You being farther away from the surface of the Earth, which would and the speed. The faster you go, the slower the time goes. The farther away you go, the faster it goes compared to the surface.
C term and the C minus V term come from rotation towards the source of the signal, or away from the source of the signal.
C plus V shouldn't happen according to relativity, dude.
That's not true.
That is not true.
If I am moving, so if I emit a so I'm moving towards a torch. The torch emits one photon. The photon takes time to get to me, but I am moving away from the photon at a velocity v. So by the time that the light has reached me, it's traveled c times delta t, but I have traveled v times delta t. So the distance that it has traveled is actually larger than, well, it's L plus v times delta t. That's the distance that it covered, and then you have to divide by the in order to calculate delta t, you have to divide by c. That's where those c terms come from. It's because you're moving while the photon is in flight.
Okay, I'm not doing anything again, dude.
Tony, now we're traveling back in time.
It's not true. He's never even read the document. He's never read the document, and he's claiming he knows what it's talking about. He does this every time.
That's where these C plus V terms come from, is from travel towards or away.
Have you read the internal satellite documents that unexpectedly had to account for the velocity of the satellite based on the signal propagation, even though they accounted for the change in distance?
No, I haven't read that.
Okay,
no, but
cool.
I know it's
Please stop commenting on it, then.
But I have worked with the software that analyzes GPS signals.
On secular.
So your claim that I'm ignorant about what's going on here.
Oh my God, Tony! I thought we ended this, dude.
All right, so Zanick, I can't talk to you, man, because Tony's gonna keep usurping it, and I'm Tony'd out.
I know. I feel your pain.
What did I say that was?
Tony, do I have to mute you, bro? I thought you were backing out of the conversation.
Yeah, I thought Zanick was
going
to take us down a different road in the conversation.
Someone else talk to Zanick. Maybe that'll work.
Okay.
So
I don't think that if I keep talking to Zanick, Tony's not going to be able to resist jumping in, right? So
you just bring it out of him. I don't know what it is.
He's made
I've been talking so long in here, I feel bad. I mean, so someone else can talk.
Yeah, so this was going to be my question.
Someone else
other than PhDTony.
No. Okay, yeah, you will get there in a second.
All right,
why was it okay for Witsit to keep participating in the conversation, but it's not okay for me to?
Well, two other people should have a conversation then.
Yes, yeah. I quite agree.
From a superficial analysis, like I'm no expert, it's
putting there.